Effective teamwork and leadership in diverse workplace contexts. Hi, I'm Sarah Rivard, one of the instructors here at UMA. I have a background in sociology, psychology, social work, and mental health. As well, I have work experience in both the medical and educational settings. One of the skills that I find to be most essential in today's workplace is the ability to work effectively in diverse workplaces. So today we're going to be discussing effective teamwork and leadership in diverse workplace contexts. Specifically, we'll be discussing the skills necessary to lead diverse teams. So this presentation is designed to help you meet the objective of effective teamwork and leadership in diverse workplace contexts. I think it's helpful to first review what is a diverse workplace. A diverse workplace is an organization with diverse employees. And when we say diverse employees, we're referring to employees who are different in terms of age, cultural background, physical abilities and disabilities, race, religion, gender, and sexual orientation, as well as any other identity dimension. When we're discussing the healthcare workplace setting specifically, a diverse workplace can also refer to a healthcare organization that serves diverse patients or clients. And again, these would be patients or clients who are different in terms of their age, cultural background, physical abilities and disabilities, race, religion, gender, or sexual orientation. Next, I think we need to define what is leadership. So leadership is simply the action of leading a group of people or an organization. So today we'll be discussing leading diverse teams. So we're going to be talking about those skills necessary to lead a group of people who are diverse or different in any of those identity dimensions that we discussed earlier. So leading diverse teams can have a lot of benefits and some challenges as well. Some of the benefits of diverse workplaces is that diverse employees can offer new perspectives to the organization. So our cultural background influences the way that we view life, the way that we see situations and problem solve, and having a wider range of people with different cultural backgrounds can provide different perspectives for the organization. It also can allow for a wider talent pool when you are hiring and retaining employees across all races, genders, cultural backgrounds. That opens up your organization to a lot more potential employees. And so you can hire the best, most talented employees, and that provides you a wider talent pool. This also leads to a wider range of skills. Our cultural background can influence our skill development, and so employees with different cultural backgrounds can often come to the organization with different skill sets, and then that offers the organization a wider range of skills. Research shows that diverse teams are often more creative and more innovative than homogeneous teams. And when we say homogeneous teams, we mean teams whose members are comprised of very similar individuals. So individuals that are not different in their cultural background or race or religion or any of those identity dimensions. So those homogenous, very same-minded teams are often less creative, less innovative, and less able to come up with really dynamic problem solving than more diverse teams. For these reasons, often organizations that have diverse employees have better performance than their competitors that are less diverse. So this higher level of performance also leads to increased profits for these organizations. Organizations that really value their diverse team members, that really encourage diversity and inclusion, often have lower turnover. So their employees feel valued and they want to stay there at the organization. So that helps organizations keep talented employees. And finally, diversity can really improve a company's reputation. So leading diverse teams can also have some challenges. One of the challenges is miscommunication. Sometimes there might be language barriers, but also sometimes our cultural background influences the way that we communicate. And so this different style of communication that coworkers can have can sometimes lead to miscommunication. Another challenge along those same lines is cultural differences. So our cultural background not only influences how we communicate, but it also influences how we work, our values and priorities, and sometimes having these different cultural values among coworkers can cause misunderstandings or conflict. However, there are strategies that leaders can use to lead diverse teams effectively so that they can avoid some of these challenges, learn from any conflicts that do arise, and really harness all of the benefits of diversity in the workplace. These strategies for leading diverse teams include measuring diversity and inclusion, holding managers accountable, supporting flexible work arrangements, recruiting and promoting from diverse pools of candidates, providing leadership education, sponsoring employee resource groups and mentoring programs, offering quality role models, and leading by example. So I know this is a lot to take in. We're going to break down each one of these strategies to provide you further information on each one. Before we move on to discussing each one of these strategies in detail, I do want to mention that these strategies were retrieved from the article by Connolly and Abrams entitled Great Leaders Who Make the Mix Work, and that was retrieved from the Harvard Business Review. So the first strategy that we're going to review is measuring diversity and inclusion. So, for example, Bank of America puts questions about diversity and inclusion in its biannual employee engagement survey. So twice a year, Bank of America provides a survey to its employees, and on that survey, they ask their employees questions about how well they do with leading diverse teams, with encouraging inclusion, and with valuing diversity. So here's a quote from one of the CEOs at Bank of America, Brian Moynihan. And he says, "We've also built a diversity and inclusion index that tells us if people here feel they are treated fairly and to help us ensure that people of diverse backgrounds can succeed at Bank of America. With this data, each team can have a dialogue to determine what we're doing well and what we can improve to make Bank of America a better place to work. Our next strategy is holding managers accountable. So many organizations evaluate their managers on what they're doing specifically to promote diversity. Some of the things managers could do would be mentoring an individual employee or sponsoring a diversity event. Some of these organizations also provide a portion of the manager's compensation based on how well they do in achieving their diversity goals. Many CEOs report that managers who embrace diversity are more likely to be considered for promotion. So this strategy, all of these components combined, can help encourage managers to put in procedures in place and really to make efforts to promote diversity and inclusion. This is important because much research shows that when middle managers do not buy in to encouraging diversity and inclusion, then any efforts an organization puts in place might not be successful. The next strategy is supporting flexible work arrangements. And so this strategy is really geared towards working parents who we know many times are women. There are working parents with a primary caretaking role who are fathers, but primarily it is mothers. So one of the things organizations can do for this strategy is to offer benefits that help employees balance their professional and personal commitments. So we call this work-life balance. It's very important for every employee, whether you have children or not, to have a work-life balance, to make sure that you are practicing self-care, taking care of yourself so that you can be your best person both at home and at work. So some of the strategies that organizations can use is to offer flexible hours, offer on-site childcare, and provide some support and training for mothers or fathers that are returning to work after a leave of absence. This strategy can help organizations retain many women in the workplace by providing greater flexibility during the years that they are raising young children. The next strategy that we're going to cover is to recruit and promote from diverse pools of candidates. So building a diverse workforce really starts with the hiring. You have to start hiring diverse employees. An awareness of diversity in the pool of candidates interviewed, the group of people hired, and the retention rates for different groups can help organizations develop a diverse workforce. An awareness of the retention and promotion of diverse employees can also allow organizations to develop action plans for any issues that are found. So let's take, for example, an organization has an awareness of the diversity in the pool of candidates that they're interviewing. So they know we have this group of people that we're going to interview for these positions at our company, and we see that we have a good amount of diversity. We have potential candidates of different genders, races, cultural backgrounds, sexual orientations, ethnicities. So we know that that pool of candidates is diverse. So they can say, well, we're doing a good job there. And then they might even look and say, well, let's see who our newly hired employees are. And they might look at that group of people and they might again say, wow, well, we're doing pretty good. We have a very diverse mix of employees, so that's great. Then let's say they look 6 months down the road, a year down the road to see which employees of that group of hired employees is still at the company, and they may look and say, wow, we've lost a lot of women and we've lost a lot of employees of color. That analysis can really help the organization realize that they need to come up with a plan of action to retain women in the workforce, to retain employees of color. So they might say to themselves, well, what's going on with our organizational culture that is possibly driving these employees away? Are there some biases going on that we're not aware of? Are we not really promoting a diverse group of employees to leadership levels? So that type of analysis can help them develop a plan and hopefully put in some strategies into place to help them fix that problem. The next strategy that we'll be reviewing is to provide leadership education. So this means providing opportunities for women and employees of color at the lower levels of the organization, which typically tend to be more diverse. These programs can include internal and external training, so that means trainings provided by the organization as well as trainings provided outside of the organization, perhaps by professional organizations. Also, it can include exposure to senior executives, so networking opportunities, as well as higher education courses. The next strategy is to sponsor employee resource groups and mentoring programs. So employee resource groups are voluntary groups of employees who share characteristics of diversity, such as you can have employee resource groups for women employees, for Black professionals, for Hispanic professionals or young professionals. These groups are designed to provide support and career development. Whereas mentoring programs are typically employees at higher levels of leadership who will mentor an employee at a lower level of the organization to provide support and career advice. The next strategy is to offer role models. So many CEOs report that putting women and employees of color in leadership roles is key to attracting, retaining, and developing other female talent as well as employees of color. And finally, an important strategy is to lead by example. Many CEOs state that it's most important for them to demonstrate a commitment to inclusion in order to foster an inclusive organizational culture. So CEOs can dedicate time to work personally on diversity and inclusion initiatives by meeting regularly with employee resource groups and diversity councils. So to summarize our key points today, by fostering a culture of diversity and inclusion, leaders can help their organizations attract and develop the best, most diverse talent, giving them the edge they need to succeed. So I want to thank you for joining me today, and I wish you luck on all of your future learning endeavors.